up, guys? So today we're actually downtown Modesto. There's been a short-term rental regulation ban, and the city hasn't really done anything yet. They're working on doing something, and today we're going to go in and talk about what's going to be happening, the next steps, and everybody that owns short-term rentals, just like myself, we're kind of SOL. We've been in a limbo for quite some time, and nobody knows what's happening. Nobody knows what's going on. So I'm actually going to go knock on the doors and try to figure out what the flip is happening and where us as operators are going to be going and what we could do and how we can operate. But one of the most important things is that I actually switched into the midterm rental model quite some time ago, and thankfully I am going to be okay. I'm just fine. But imagine that you have all your properties in one space and then all of a sudden you can't literally do anything. You're frozen, you're stuck. The income that you were making before, you're not making anymore, and you got to flip back to long-term rent, which is why we're here today to kind of talk about what you need to do to get educated to make sure that your property is going to be sustainable in the short-term space. If you don't have any regulations, you have to think that these things are coming. In more cities, we're seeing more regulations, which means that we have to pivot what we're doing now ahead of the curve because more cities are going to be regulated. I mean, a small city like Modesto, which has, 200,000 people, somewhere right around there, we're being regulated. And one of the reasons why we're being regulated is because somebody that works in the council actually has a huge hotel and has actually done a bunch of research already for us investors, and they know there's a bunch of travel medical professionals coming in the market. So you can see the stuff that he wrote where he actually talks about this being the demand area for travel medical professionals, which is why he's building a freaking hotel. So a lot of times when cities get regulated, it is specifically because somebody in the council or somebody that works for the department or somebody that works for the city or the government, they have their hands in real estate. They have it in hotels and they have it in whatnot, just like Las Vegas obviously is regulated because it's owned by the hotel industry, which is why they don't allow short-term rentals. And we're gonna start seeing more and more of these things happening all over the place. But I just wanted to give you guys a live update on what's actually truly happening in my neck of the woods. And luckily, like I mentioned before, I have an exit strategy, which is the midterm rentals. And thank God that I've been able to have this, because if not, all the properties that I own here, literally most of my properties that I own are here in the same market, I would be shit out of luck. I would be having to switch over to long-term rents and not being financially stable. I would have, the income that I'm making from these properties, it would be gone. So yeah, we're gonna walk through and actually see if they'll let us in today and see if they're actually gonna let us go upstairs. You guys can hear the conversation that I'm gonna have with the city, and we will see what happens. But if you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments below. We're going to talk about this a little bit more in detail, but I just wanted to give you guys a heads up on what's actually happening in my neck of the woods. So yeah, we're going to go walk into the city right now. Hopefully I don't get arrested. Should I take my hat off so that I look like not a degenerate? I should, when I talk to the council, should I just look like a normal human, or I should? All right. Thanks, dudes. We appreciate it. That was good. We didn't get arrested. Look at this beautiful view of city of Modesto. This would be me as a teenager, except I'm more of a brown dude. If you want to get a video of this guy, that's me, what I did when I was a kid. I love skateboarding, which I still skate to this day, you guys. Super cool, right? I'm a super cool old guy with the hat backwards. Hi, how are you? Good, I'm doing good. My name is Jesse Vasquez, and I actually got a letter in the mail a while back regarding short-term rental bans, and I was wondering if I could talk to somebody about that whole situation.
Okay.
We shall see what's happening. You want to have a seat?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Let's have a seat here, make ourselves at home. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good, I'm doing good, thank you.
Good.
So you gotta be friendly with people, because then they'll respond better. So if I was in here just me and yelling at everybody. You guys have a Christmas tree up right now?
That's a summer tree.
Oh goodness, I did not know that. Oh, I see the water gun. Well, presents show up for you guys here because all the city folk get to pay you guys for everything. So there's little presents, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure those people in the line, they're giving presents away right now in the amount of money. If there's parties going on, that means that the operators are operating like shit, and they're just allowing every single person that has, they're basically just taking everybody's money. And to be a professional operator, you got to screen everybody, you got to have noise-aware systems in your property, you have to literally have a Ring doorbell camera. If they say there's going to be 5 guests, you make sure that 5 guests come in. This is what differentiates an actual legit CEO, owner, operator, as just a one-off person that wants to make extra money renting as a short-term rental. And those are the people that you want to get out of the business, because at the end of the day, we're operating on like an actual real level.
So they're going to try and get someone to come down and talk to you. So they asked if you could just hang out.
Yeah.
They're going to, I think the director just, our finance director just said, oh, hold on.
We're going to get the actual city council member coming out, city planner is going to come out and actually talk to us. And let's see what they say, but this has been like the gray area, upside down world. Stranger Things for short-term rental operators.
Thank you so much.
And you know what? I'm the advocate. I'm being the nice guy for everybody. Like, I'm trying to make shit happen. Right? Fuck. Am I the only person that's been harassing you guys about short-term rental stuff?
We work for a city. I'm sure there's others. Right?
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah, so I just want to just chat with you guys right now. So I've been an STR operator here for quite some time. I own multiple different properties here and also work with other folks that have properties that they list on Airbnb. I worked in healthcare for a long time, so I actually host a lot of nurses majority of the time. I would say about 90% of the business is hosting travel medical professionals, insurance claims, things like that. But I'm actually the only advocate for people here in the Valley for short-term rentals. So there's quite a bit of cash that's been generated over the last year here, and over the last several years with the short-term rental space. So I know that we've been in basically there's a cease and desist letters that went out. So everybody that operated at that point stopped operating. Or if they didn't, they're operating illegally. Or we don't even know what's actually happening right now. There's a whole gray area with what's happening. There's been no communication between the city letting us know what's happening. So I guess right now for me, it's just what's being done. How are you guys advocating for the small mom and pop operators? Because we're not like these big, huge agencies. So what's being done to help us, or what's being done on your guys' end to come up with a remedy to fix this issue?
So to change a code or a policy isn't a matter of just snapping your finger and saying, hey, we changed this new system, right? So the whole things need to be considered. For one, short-term rentals in communities all across the United States are actually seen as a negative thing and not a positive thing.
Right.
Neighbors don't like it, communities don't like it, so we have to consider that as well. It needs to be a piece of the discussion.
Right.
So a serious discussion needs to be had across multiple departments about how we go about crafting a policy if we were to allow short-term rentals going into the future. Mm-hmm. So for now, there is no policy allowing for short-term rentals. Mm-hmm. So, if there are people operating illegally, or if they're setting up a business in that capacity without first checking with city code and city policy, that's a decision they've chosen to make.
Right.
But right now, there is no policy allowing for short-term rentals.
Right. So, but there was letters that were sent out that said you're not allowed to operate, and you got to pay mills tax, and you need to pay TOT tax. So, sure. And it's a cease and desist letter. So, to my indication, everybody that's operating here, they're not allowed to operate. So, it is illegal. But then, correct. I've been on the council meetings where I actually showed up on Zoom. We weren't allowed to go in person yet at that time, and I've talked about this several different times. And this was 5 months ago, and we still don't have any understanding of what's happening.
No two cities are actually kind of handling this the same way. So there's
right.
a bunch of different ways to go about it. And it's a brave new world when it comes to technology-based companies, right. Things like Uber and Lyft, and it took cities a long time to catch up to that policy as well.
Right.
So I know there are discussions going on. We are researching policies that may or may not work for the city. That
right.
takes time to research. How does the taxing work? How does enforcement work?
Right.
And right now, there may be people operating them illegally, but
right.
unless someone tells us there's an illegal operation going on, it's hard for us to know because we're not going around, waiting around in communities going,
right.
Is there a
right? Yeah. But you guys paid for a third-party company to go out and do that for you.
So sometimes, yeah, but it's a big city of 220,000 people. We got a lot of square footage.
Right.
We couldn't possibly make it into every neighborhood to make sure that yes, there aren't illegal short-term rentals.
Right.
If there is a complaint, then we may be able to send some code enforcement out to take care of that issue. But we just can't police the entire short-term rental occupation.
I totally get it. So one of the council members that's part of the council actually owns a hotel, or is working on picking up a big giant hotel here. And there was a couple articles were in the Modesto Bee that talked about housing travel medical professionals getting the short-term rental industry. Does that have anything to do with what's happening right now?
No, absolutely not.
Okay. Because we've seen in a lot of different cities where there's municipalities that are really kind of stringent as far as the short-term rental. It's always because somebody's connected to whatever environment. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, this is exactly what Visalia has done. Somebody in the same type of thing. Short-term rentals are being regulated everywhere. So and there's always some part of council member that's attached to it, and all of a sudden, just boom, it's just done. So, and it's a huge conflict of interest if you think about it in those terms.
But that 100% was not triggered. I think the main thing was, and to Andrew's point, obviously since the concerns were voiced after the letters were sent,
Right.
100% there's been an effort, to ensure we could research and see, if there was a way to address kind of the puzzle that you're
Right.
outlining of, if there are certain exceptions that are established under other cities where it's more focused on the rental of the medical professions like
Right.
you've described. But unfortunately, there wasn't a one-size-fits-all. So we want to make sure if, we decide to move forward with looking at a way that we can frame a revision to our zoning code to address your, the
Right.
type of scenario that's been advocated. I think we want to make sure we do our due diligence because we want to make sure we present something one time
Right.
and try to ensure, we get the support both from the public as well as from our council
Yeah.
members. Because, we hear the complaints on both sides.
Right.
And again, as you mentioned, the complaints we mostly get are the
Negative.
negative, the
Right.
party houses that have happened and just
Mhm.
trying to mitigate those. And then to be able to present something to council where, we don't get the, several angry homeowners that have been long residents of Modesto
Right.
that are not gonna be for a potential change. So we wanna make sure we go through the right steps and ensure that, we can come up with a situation that kind of, has that middle ground
Right.
that would have the support that we're looking for.
Got it. Okay, perfect. And I think that's what I was trying to figure out. But as of right now, I've been operating on the midterm rental space, which is, 30 days or more, which falls into the long-term rental rule. We have nurses, like I mentioned before, I worked in the hospital industry for 17 years, and that's what we got contracts with DMC, Manual, and some actual big agencies that host travel medical professionals. We have an underserved market with travel clinicians, if you guys probably are already aware of that.
Mhm.
So we're not going to deal with anything as far as the short-term regulations managing that aspect, correct? Like you guys are allowing us to operate specifically for the travel industry. If it's 30 days or more, we're not going to fall under the short-term rental rule.
Right.
Is that correct?
If
Okay,
the-
got it. Okay. So what can we expect, or is there, how do I connect with you guys? Because I've created an advocacy group right now, and there's over 100 people that operate, whether they live in the house or they're operating, as their own space now. How do we come up with, or what can I go back and let them know? You guys are still working on putting something together. Is there an expected timeline for this?
What I would recommend doing is maybe check in with me in the next 30 days because Allison, our deputy city manager, is the one that's formulating kind of what the next steps are
Okay,
in regards to coming up with a project plan. So reach out to myself and then I will coordinate on getting regular updates, and then at that point I'll leave Allison into the communication.
absolutely. And one of the things you mentioned about the negative people throwing parties and stuff like that, just like with anything, there's bad apples, and I think that people look at this industry and I'm going to make a quick dollar. So they're not actually operating professionally. Like us with our properties, we have noise systems that if somebody has a radio on too loud, it'll automatically send us a trigger. We have ring cameras. If there's 5 people staying, there's 5 people on the property. They're not doing background checks. They're not going through reviews that the people had before. And that's where you have your single one-off just trying to make money person, and then you have an actual professional operator. There's 2 different categories when it comes to that. And if there's a way where you guys can actually bridge those gaps, and maybe you guys can reach out to me as a resource, and maybe going forward, there's certain things that are put in place, and certain cities are doing that now. If you're going to operate, here's the things that you need to have in the property. Here's what needs to be done. Here's how this operates. So it actually gives the neighbors peace of mind, and they understand and they see what's going on. And obviously, we have a housing shortage. I totally get that too. So there's got to be a way that we can somehow.
Sounds like you're pretty well versed, so if you have a template of a city that may be doing something that you think is something for us to consider, that would be something that maybe you can.
Totally, yeah.
forward.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so we can get it, because that would expedite, obviously, because we're looking at a variety of cities, and a lot of times we look based on city size or
Mhm.
what it is we're looking for, but if this is kind of your niche and you're well versed on that, then we
Yeah.
would definitely like to review those.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I will. I'll actually put together an email and draft it and send it to you so that I can show you cities Fresno just drafted one, Clovis has one. So all these cities are going through regulations right now, but they're very on a pendulum. They're very balanced when it comes to people that are already operating. So there's different cities that offer different things, but just alone, the city of Modesto generated over $1 million in revenue, actually more than that. And imagine the city getting 15 to 20% of that. I don't see an operator caring about that, where you guys can take those TOT taxes and use that for, things more police, all that other stuff. So I think it's just trying to figure stuff out for myself, for my clients that I have that own property here as well, and just see where the future is going in this specific industry with our city, which, this is a city that obviously I'm a part of and I enjoy a lot. So it's just trying to figure out how we can come up with a common ground.
great, appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
appreciate you taking the time in
Yeah.
regards to continue to share your feedback, so.
Yeah,
very
absolutely.
much. Thank you much.
Perfect. Well, thank you. I'll draft an email together and I'll shoot it over to you guys. Awesome. Thank you. All right. Well, we still aren't anywhere. If you're a short-term rental operator, you're operating illegally, obviously, as you heard. So this is why midterm rentals are like literally the most important thing that you guys need to be thinking about right now. Not just travel medical professionals, but business operators, business to business levels, because these things are going to happen in small cities like Modesto and all over the place. So yeah. All right, so we just went into the city hall and got a chance to actually meet with some of the people that are actually in charge of getting this shit together. I'm gonna put my glasses on because I probably look cooler in them, and maybe my hat back on. I took my hat off because I look like a degenerate in there and I wanted them to take me serious, so it totally worked, right? But so yeah, basically what I got out of this conversation today is that there's still really nothing happening. There's really nothing really going on. We still don't know what is going to happen in the future as far as being a short-term rental operator. And I'm really just concerned for everybody that operates here, because we're operating illegally, or the people that are operating as short-term rentals, it's illegal. So, you know, I'm kind of at a loss for words, because it's been 5 months since we started talking about this, and we did get letters in the mail that literally said you can't operate anymore. Like literally that's it, you're done. Cease and desist. Every day that you're operating, you're gonna get fined. But then now they're telling us here that there's no regulations, and there's no, they basically said to run as a legal operation. Like, you guys heard this, like this is what they said. Until they decide whatever it is that they decide, we're at the mercy of the city and the council. And this is why I really urge you guys again to like really think about your businesses, especially if there's no code or no regulations that are put in place, because one day everything's fine and dandy until it's not. And then what? And what are you going to do at that point? So really think about how your business is. And I know right now it might be really great, everything's going fine, but all of a sudden one day it just takes that one moment where it's just like, shit, there's regulations, now what? And there's a bunch of people watching this now that have been through this. There's a bunch of people that are going to deal with this. I'm dealing with this, but again, luckily I have those midterm rental contracts and things are set in a different way where I feel comfortable operating here, even though it's not necessarily allowed. But I urge you guys all to really think about this, and please like and subscribe. Today's been an eventful day, kind of a little vlog day, so I'm glad you guys were able to come along with me. And yeah, I appreciate you guys, and start thinking about midterm rentals like you have to. This is a reason why. You just watched it firsthand. And if you are going through regulations, start an advocacy group, start a Facebook group where all operators are connected. You guys, we can't have a scarcity mindset where we're worried about what the neighbors are doing. We need to connect with everybody together as a group, and we need to eventually go after the cities in this way that, you know, will help us all collectively together. And I happen to be the guy here in this area, which I already have enough shit on my hands that I shouldn't be doing this, but I am anyway, because I care about people that are operating in this space, and I care about what they're doing, and I look forward to the future of Modesto actually allowing people to have short-term rentals. We're not these big, giant, huge companies. We're just people that have, you know, a property or two, or arbitraging one or two, and are doing things ethically and morally. So yeah, like and subscribe. Hope you guys appreciate it. We will see you in the next update.